Here they are. All right, so I texted her. So I guess, do we want to approve the minutes?
Yeah, so I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Okay,
Presented.
and I'll second that.
Okay.
And I guess we all agree.
Yes, I vote yes by vote.
Well, welcome, Frank. We don't usually get guests at our meeting. Is there something that you were interested in today, specifically?
Nothing in particular. I was on the town website and I saw this interesting meeting about how to save energy and get a little more green energy into the town. So I thought I'd check it out.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah.
Well, we, as you know, we got approved. Our Article 22 was approved at town meeting, so now we're able to move forward. The next step is typically, or an optional step, which is to get an RFP, to develop an RFP. But John has met with Don Lowe, and they've discussed, and John, I don't know if John's been involved in putting up this program in several towns already, John. So he discussed it with Don Lowe. So I guess John has an update regarding the RFP process.
So I guess we have a decision to make and then to present to the Board of Selectmen. So these programs operate by hiring an outside consultant, who is in the business of doing this. And there's a few in the state. Now, there is, the law allows us to simply choose somebody or to go through an RFP situation. Now, I've been involved in this for folks who don't know me. I was a town administrator, I retired. So I implemented this program in 2 other communities. There's one company who's far ahead of others who actually put this program together back, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, which is Colonial Power out of Marlboro. My feeling is that, we can go to an RFP, but that to me is, in this situation, is a waste of time. It's not going to save any money because basically the money is all about the bids that have to be produced after the fact. The companies are all paid the same way for producing. We don't pay the consultant. They receive a 1% fee on top of from the proceeds from the companies, from the power companies that we'll be buying electricity from. So, Lynn, we talked about this way back when in earlier discussions. I think my belief is the same that, I think we should try to go before the Board of Selectmen and simply present Colonial Power, as the company to work with. We use them as a resource. We met with the company representatives back, I don't know, was it February, give or take, when we were putting this together. I'm more than comfortable in going that route. And it'll save a bit of time, a lot of hassle. And I just don't see, this isn't a bid situation. I don't see where there's any potential savings. What you would be doing is ranking the companies out there to see who would provide you the best service. And based on, their history and the fact that they're providing services to most of the communities in the state, and their reputation is out there as being very good, I say cut the red tape and let's move towards, working with Colonial Power. That's my belief on this.
Well, the fact that all of that they all of our neighboring towns are currently using them as well.
Right.
So that gives us the opportunity to do a little due diligence and speak with the towns to see how their experience is. And we all know
Yep.
that Harvard went through the RFP process. We can get a little bit more information about why they chose Colonial.
So I
And
did meet, I think I mentioned before, I did meet with Harvard back, December, January timeframe. I went over and talked with the town administrator and the assistant town administrator who actually handles the program. And they were very complimentary, of Colonial Power. And so with that history, they had no issues, it went through. So they recommended, when I was there that day, they recommended to me to move forward, with Colonial Power. They had no issues. And, I've used Colonial Power in the two places that I was in. So I have personal history, in using Colonial Power in the past. And they were very good with us. And I never had a complaint, so I was in two communities, one at 25,000 population, the other was 18,000. And we never had a complaint, in utilizing Colonial Power. They're very good at the communication side, which is what you want in this situation. So I've done my due diligence. I have no problem with, others want to move forward and, check with some communities and, see how things are going, in other places. So more than willing to assist with that.
okay. Well, I know Sharon wanted to do that. She's having trouble getting the link, finding the link to get to the
Okay.
meeting. So, oh, shoot, I didn't turn on the recording. Oh, well.
Now,
It says recording.
later.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All right. Um, yeah, I think that sounds fine. I know Sharon had some ideas about checking with the other towns, and I think she
Yep.
should do that. So what would the next steps be then?
So I think there's two steps that need to be taken at this point. One we've been discussing is, choosing a consultant, because the consultant really gives all the viewpoints on how to operate this program. So they're our guide, through this process. I think once we have the consultant on, then they can highlight to us some of the things we want to look at as part of the program, such as, we've talked about several times the blending in the belief of green, the packages of greener energy, versus the saving of money, in the program. So I think if we take a look at that, just to, not to tell them which way to go, to highlight what our options are, our steps that we need to take. Then we talked about having a meeting with the Board of Selectmen to get public input as to what people may think of these options. So I think we need to highlight what our options are first, which we kind of got a general idea on, but we should list them specifically. What are the decisions we need to make? And then once we have those, then we get input on those decisions. Because once the selectmen make a decision on those things, then we go out to bid. Or actually, before we go to bid, we go to the state for approval of our plan.
Are you saying to come up with the options, work with Colonial prior to going to the selectmen for the first time, even?
I think so.
Just wrap it up?
Just wrap it in, and say,
Okay.
well, we're going to need the selectmen's approval to hire Colonial. So I'm
Yeah,
not sure we're in an egg, type situation here. So maybe we need to first get permission from the selectmen to, hire Colonial. That's my preference. If that's the route we go, we need to do that. Then I think we work with Colonial for a meeting or two to then highlight the decisions that need to be made in order to present our plan to the state. Once we highlight those decisions that need to be made, we can get public input on those decisions that need to be made.
So you say hire Colonial, there is no fee for this, correct?
Correct, but we still
Okay.
have to engage in
A
a
contract?
contract. We're not paying for the contract, but we still have to engage them. So there will be a contract that the town, not us, but through the town administrator and board of selectmen need to enter into an engagement with Colonial.
Okay. Well, it sounds like Don is okay with this plan.
When I
Um,
spoke to him, he's open to our recommendation. So,
Okay.
he wasn't telling us, yes, you do this. I mean, the discussion was he's in favor, of us presenting, our recommendation to the selectmen. And if our recommendation was that we do not go to RFP, that we go with a specific firm, he could see himself, recommending that to the board, at that point. So, because I had heard prior to, and I'm not sure, who had said it, but that he was, or that the town had stated we need to go to the RFP process. So that's why I called them to see, because legally it's not required. So that's why I want to see what the opinion was. And that's when he said, no, I don't have an opinion on it. If the committee wishes to come in and recommend, he's all, in favor of hearing our recommendation and presenting that to the selectmen.
Okay. Sorry, Sharon needs me to send this email. Really need to do this prior to the meeting.
Yeah,
Do you have it handy that you could
I
send
know
it
I'm
to
doing it
her?
right now.
Because she has an alternate email address. I have to send it to that's on her phone, and that's the
Okay.
problem. I don't send it to that one. So sorry, I'm getting.
All right, so which email should I be using?
I got to find that email. So
Okay.
hold on, I got to. Oh,
The link is also on the Town of Bolton
I
website.
know. I told her to go there and get it.
That was easy for me to find.
Let me see. You know what, John? If I have to go out here anyway to find it, I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just have the Chapala at Otford.
Yeah, she's got a Gmail address. Okay, I just sent it.
Okay, great.
Um,
So I can delete mine then.
Where are you? There you are. So I must admit I haven't looked at the RFP in a while, but when I do look at an RFP, my eyes glaze over and I don't really get it. So
Yeah, again, it's a lot of, we'd have to go through and make sure the RFP is fully correct. And what it would do is get you the same 3 or 4 companies,
Yeah.
that are out there. And again, I think you've seen how many towns have gone with Colonial because they provide a service. That's all they're pretty much doing is this aggregation. They've built their business around it. They're not doing a little of this and a little of that. They've built their business around this, and they're good at it. So I just don't see the need for putting this out another 5 months by having to do the RFP review.
But I guess there are some points in it. I don't know if it's worth having them respond to it. There are some key points in an RFP that are worth going over with them.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. So I think that where I would be is that if we get approval from the selectmen to move forward without doing the RFP and to move forward with the intent of hiring Colonial, the next step is to hold a meeting, bring them in and discuss the conditions of the contract so that we can discuss the points you're talking about in the RFP and have them highlight to us, well, here's the services you're actually going to provide. We can clarify those pieces, and then we can, develop the contract from there.
Okay. Well, okay, so well, would be good to have Sharon here. So I guess the next step would be just to approach Dawn and see if we can get listed on the selectmen.
Yeah,
agenda.
I think you're correct. That's the next step, is to get on their next agenda and have a discussion with them, on the matter as to the option.
Mm.
And, I would suggest we take a vote to recommend that we go the non-RFP route. And the intent would be to, go with Colonial Power.
Excuse me. I just sent it to your Gmail. Did you not? And can't you go to the website and click on the link on the website?
Technical difficulties.
Can you go back to the main page of the website, and do you see the calendar on the main page of the website? Phone. So there should be a calendar, hopefully on the front. You should click on click on today's date, and you should see our meeting there. June 30th. See the link?
So John, I noticed Colonial Power is right in Marlboro.
They are, yes.
Have you ever paid a visit to their
Link's pretty
office?
long.
I've never been in their office. They're right off the highway. I know where it is.
Click on that.
So they're right in that building across from the Shell gas station. When you get off the highway towards Northborough,
Yep.
you've got that Shell gas. I think it's a
Do you
Shell
see
on the
it?
right-hand side, and across the street you've got, I think, an Exxon gas station with this building up on a hill a little bit.
Yes.
So right before the 99, they're in that building right there.
Oh.
I think Digital Equipment might have had an office there once.
Maybe it could have been DG if you go back to
Yeah.
Data General, or Digital. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay,
It might have had some space in there.
Now I can either.
Been a few things, but I believe they're right in that. I think it's a bluish building, if I remember right.
We have a guest.
Right up there.
So
Marlboro was the first community that did the aggregation in the state, so they were the first to do it. I think Ashburnham was number 2. And then I was in Ashland at the time, and we were number 3.
Okay.
So Ashland was the third community to go to aggregation. Now it's, I don't know, it's about half of the towns in the state are doing this.
Yep.
The city of Boston's in a process of doing it now. So
Yeah, I
they're
see
using
it.
Colonial.
I have to
So
go
Boston
back
is
to the
using
meeting.
Colonial
You're
too.
talking, I'm missing everything now. So if you can get
So
there.
Colonial became, actually, I knew he's no longer with the firm, but the co-founder
Okay, well, I have to switch my.
used to be a teacher in the city of Marlboro. So we did, Frank, what we did meet with them back in January or February when we were reviewing this stuff. They came in to meet with us and explained the process to us. So they were
Yeah.
good enough to come out to meet with, this committee at town hall, and found them to be very knowledgeable, and they explained everything to us as a committee of all the
Yes.
steps and all the issues, before it. So they had, I think, 3 representatives come out to meet with us that time.
Can you hear okay, Sharon?
I can hear you.
Oh. There, I put you on speaker.
Okay.
Oh, so you're at the meeting through the PC. Does that give you any capability?
Right now it's just a big talking. Password.
Can you hear Sharon?
Sure, yes, I'm trying to do this. I'm doing it on my computer. My computer does not have audio Zoom, so it's gonna work there. Just pretend. Just tell me what. Just be in on the conversation.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I have my file, so I can look see if you're talking about the
okay, so
RFP, whatever.
Sharon. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can you guys say something, see if Sharon can hear you?
Sharon, how you doing? Can you hear us?
I lost her. I give up. Oh, well, Zoom doesn't know. I won't tell you about what happened at my other meeting. Zoom can have we had a lot of surprise guests at my last meeting. Oh,
So, Lynn,
yeah,
you want to agree with this process, you can talk to Sharon afterwards.
yeah, we're just
See,
gonna,
we can do this. We've got a quorum.
Yeah.
So, and if she disagrees, we'll come back into another meeting and discuss it. But I think, if she's in agreement, we can just move forward at this point. You and I can take the vote. So, if you want, I can make a motion that we present to the Board of Selectmen our recommendation that we seek to not go the RFP route, but to engage with Colonial Power, and that they authorize us to have discussions with Colonial Power with the use of the town administrator to develop a program to be presented to the state for approval.
I second that. Can you write that down, John?
Yeah, I'll take care of that. I got minutes, so I'll do
Here's the
minutes.
minutes.
today. And then once we work with, so the process would be once we we set the contract with Colonial Power, then we'll work out what the details of a program should be, and then we'll go to a public session to the Board of Selectmen for discussion of that, so that we get an understanding of what the program can look like. And then we'll, once we have agreement on all that, then we submit it to the state for approval. And then once the state approves, then we can go out and seek bids.
Yep.
We're probably in a 1-year process based on what I've heard before from Colonial Power, because it takes, the state is very slow in reviewing these.
Yep.
Might even be slower in this day and age of what's going on. But we got to begin the process someplace.
All right, so if you want to write that down, or
Yeah.
do we need to vote? Did we, I know I seconded
I
it.
made a
Did-
motion, you seconded, so yes.
All
we
in
need a
favor?
vote.
Yeah, okay.
By roll, it needs to be by roll, so I, yes, and,
Aye.
okay. So I'll record it by roll for the minutes. If you want, I can contact, Jenny and Don to request being put on an agenda to meet with the selectmen.
Well, can I see the write-up, the minutes and the proposal first?
Sure.
And I think maybe Sharon and I might want to still do a little bit of talking. I know you're very familiar with Colonial, but I think we
Yeah.
might want to do a little bit more oversight with some of the other towns before
Fine,
the
so
next
I'll
step.
wait, I'll wait to contact, Don and Jenny until I hear back from you with an okay saying, you know, you guys are fine with, some review.
Okay,
That all sound good?
sounds good.
Frank, you have any questions on that? Or?
Does it help if individual homeowners start moving over to Colonial right now?
I don't think Colonial, no, it doesn't, because Colonial is not there. I don't believe they have an independent program. They're only doing the aggregation program, I believe. So they're not like, I'm trying to think, a Constellation or some of these other companies. I don't believe they have the capacity to take individual pieces. They are a company, I
Okay.
think, that, their charge is only to do aggregation.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't believe there's any benefit in that, or there's not even a possibility of that at this point.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Were you interested in the green aspect, Frank, of the program, or did you have, what were you looking for from Community Choice?
Just to see how it works. That's pretty much it. I
Okay.
know that the aggregators have to be competitive because each homeowner can opt out, right? So
That's correct.
it's in their best interest to offer a very competitive product.
That's because they're selling electricity. So, if they don't find people to buy it in bulk, like what we're doing, they're not going to survive on their end. So there's not a lot of money to be made necessarily by trying to sell one homeowner at a time. But when
Yeah.
they can get 1,000 households from the town of Bolton, then, they're selling it at bulk. So that's where you get your, that's where you can get your savings.
Do you know, John, what the, is there an expectation? Is it usually like 50% of the town they would get, or is there some?
There's very little opting out, I believe. And I think we had asked that, and I'm trying to remember the number. But no, since it is an opt-out program, most people aren't even paying attention,
Yeah.
to what's happening. You're gonna get a mailer, and I believe it's a postcard, or I forget if it's an envelope that comes out, but you're gonna get a mailer from Colonial Power when it's being switched over saying, here's what's going on. They're very good at communicating. But like most things that come in the mail these days, most people, it's going straight from the mailbox to the recycling container, hopefully recycling container. So most people aren't paying attention, or they're thinking, how many ads do we get now for, for buying electricity? I know I get one every few weeks from some company I don't even open. So, so I think most people aren't even aware. But some people will opt out. I always had the, every once in a while I'd get the call from the, conspiracy theorists. You government, you're trying to, just watch me through my electricity. Okay, opt out, sir, please. Feel free to opt out. But I get that every once in a while. But for the most part, we get a couple of calls once in a while. Sometimes I would talk to the citizen, and after 30, 2 minutes of explanation, they got it. They were fine with it. All you got to say is the average, and we can find out depending on the program, the average savings on a yearly basis, is maybe $100, by going to this, but it's still $100. Now the issue is, how much greener do you, want to make it? And greener sometimes can save you money. Sometimes it might not save you as much. That's the issue with, green versus a cheaper electricity. So those are the policy decisions, that we need to make. And, Lynn has heard me say many times, I'm not into the policy decision yet, because this was all processed to this point. But now we'll have to work with the selectmen to decide what they're seeking, for policy. And then we can develop the bids based on what our policy wants to be as a community.
Well, since you mentioned it, is there reporting that would come back as to what usage the Bolton households have, or is that all? um,
Interesting.
under-
I think they can give us the overall reports, yes, because the electricity, the aggregator certainly is charging back. They have all that, so they can give us the reports on how much electricity is being used in a community. What we're going to do, or what our, a consultant will do, is get all that information from National Grid to begin with.
Oh,
And
okay.
so when they put it out to bid, all that's packaged into the information for the bid, because the aggregator is going to want to know what's the potential, of electricity being used, because they need to make sure they have the electricity to sell, and Bolton's not going to be an issue, but the city of Boston might be an issue. I mean, the aggregator has to be able to set aside that amount of electricity from their stock to do that. So all that is part of that bid, is my understanding.
Okay. So I guess we should plan our next meeting. Any vacations? Anybody going away?
No, and even with this stuff, you can go away and still be available. So
That's true.
with the Zooming stuff. So,
Well, why don't we? Well, we'll shoot for how's July 21st.
yeah, that's fine with
You're
me.
available? Okay. 3 o'clock?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Great. So I guess we will. Thanks for coming, Frank.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Frank, thanks.
Okay, yep, bye.
Bye. So I'll call this meeting over.
Yeah, move to adjourn officially.
Thank you.
I'll give
all
you
right.
some of the formal details here.